This is episode 154, and my name is Jacob. Thank you all for joining us. We appreciate you, and we're glad that you're here. We've got a good interview lined up for you all. One of our newer co hosts, Lily, has sat down with James, and they talked all about his recovery from kava kratom extracts and, in general, how he's gotten off and maintained sobriety from kratom. He has a story about a relapse in there as well, which I know is very common among users and in general across all of substance use. I could talk on and on about my own personal experience with relapse, but I'm sure you've all probably heard that before if you've been a listener for a while. One thing I did want to talk about a little bit today before we get into the interview is just positivity and feeling all the feelings of how you may be feeling on a certain day. I don't know if I phrased that really well, but what I was meaning to say is essentially in the society we live in, there's a lot of positivity and people talking about overcoming adversity. And I don't know, sometimes it can feel even like a little bit of toxic positivity. What I mean by that is you're not always going to have great days. Sometimes things are going to be scary. Sometimes things are going to be challenging. And sometimes you're just going to feel like maybe you can't do it all. And that is okay. I think there's so much going on in the world today, and dealing with all of that, the cost of living, affordability of things, no matter really where you are at this point in the world, everything else that might be going on economically, politically, it's just a lot. On top of that, you have social media and internet and all this other stuff, and it can be a lot. And on top of that, if you're listening to this podcast, you're also dealing with and or recovering from an addiction to kratom. And it can feel hard to not want to fall back into that, particularly when you're bombarded with social media and advertising and media that shows you just this people always being happy and positive all the time. And that's just not reality all the time. So, what I'm trying to say is it is okay to feel how you're feeling. It is okay to maybe not be able to provide encouragement all the time or having a positive outlook constantly. That's not to say you should be able to be negative and rude and turn inward. Really, what I'm just trying to say is it is okay to feel however you're feeling. And you shouldn't feel like you have to feel a certain way because of society or whatever may be going on out there. So I just wanted to share that. I was inspired to talk about this. I was doing some promotion for some of my nightlife work. And when I was doing that promotion on social media, I was just bombarded with these toxic ads. And I just had a day yesterday where I was not really feeling the positivity so much. But woke up today, feeling a lot better, have the day off, and I'm going to let everybody get on to the interview that Lily.
All right. Hello. So, welcome to the Kratom Sobriety Podcast. My name is Lily, and I'm here today with James. And we're going to talk about his story and everything that comes with it. So, how are you today, James?
I'm doing pretty good. It's an honor to be here. Thank you so much for having me. Hopefully, my story can help some people along the way kick in the dirty habit of kratom.
Yeah. So, before we start talking specifically about Kratom, anything you'd like to share, how you'd introduce yourself to someone, where you're from, everything like that?
Yeah, sure. So, my name is James. I'm 43 years old, born and raised San Diego, California. Been making a living for the last 26 years here as a professional cameraman, camera operator, cinematographer, whatever label you want to put on that. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride, a lot of addiction and substance battles throughout the years. But again, just if my story can help anybody, it would be an honor to just share.
Yeah. And what is your kratom abstinence date?
My abstinence date is April 1st. So April Fools. I think that's silly and fitting because I'll get into my whole roller coaster ride of addiction there. But yeah, April Fools. The joke was on me. I thought I had kicked all the tough stuff, and this kratom thing came along and seemed like a godsend. And before you know it, I was hooked as can be. And I identified those addictive behaviors and shit.
Yeah.
I'm so
Oh,
can I
yeah.
curse? Is that cool?
You can
Okay,
curse,
cool.
that's fine. Yeah, this
I
is a
might,
real life story, real
I
life
might,
podcast. Great.
yeah, I might let them fly. Yeah, April 1st was my official. Yeah.
Okay,
So
good.
that's about 3 months to this
Yeah.
date.
Okay. Yeah. And then when did you first encounter Kratom, or when did it become advertised to you? I know that you mentioned on your onboarding that alcohol was what you stopped doing first. So maybe would you like to talk about how you heard
Totally.
about it?
Yeah, totally. First initial answer to that question is I heard about it through a Joe Rogan interview with Hamilton Morris of Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia. He had a pretty awesome show on Viceland where he traveled around doing different psychedelics and different natural plant medicines and going into it how ancient cultures have used quote unquote drugs to alter their states of consciousness and stuff like that, and the medicinal properties there, and how not all drugs can be bad. That's his message. As somebody who had been self medicating, all my substance issues, not necessarily was for the party. I was looking to quiet the chatter in my brain. I've been in therapy and recently diagnosed as a HSP, which I kind of resent that label because my whole life people have been telling me, "Oh, you're so sensitive. You're so sensitive. Why are you being so emotional?" And yeah, I took the stupid quiz and HSP 100%. That means highly sensitive person. I'm affected greatly by emotions and I just am
Yeah.
over analytical in my brain. And also, I have a diagnosis of bipolar and I
Okay.
am unmedicated. At this point in life, I know my triggers and stuff like that. So therapy has really helped a lot. So yeah, my addiction roller coaster is up and down. And do you want me to get started on just all that in general and how I found myself getting hooked on the kratom? Or
Yeah, I think so, because I know that you said for you, you had a different substance journey to get to the kratom. And so part of how did you find out about kratom is definitely because of other things first. So feel free to drop right
yep.
into that.
Okay, totally. So first addictive behaviors were definitely sugar. My parents, maybe
Yeah.
didn't make the best choices with the food they raised me on. Raised on a lot of fast food and sugar, and I pretty much ate whatever the hell I wanted. By the time I was 19 years old, 18 years old, I was at 280 pounds. And my job, I had my dream job, and it was chasing around professional skateboarders with a video camera and literally chasing them on my skateboard. So hopping fences to schoolyards and stuff like that. I just looked ridiculous being that heavy and
Oh,
being that heavy and working in the skateboarding industry. So long story short, I started smoking pot to fit in with these pro skaters that I respected a lot. And I'd smoked a little pot in high school. So I started getting high with them. And then the pot gave me these anxiety issues. And it was all related to my weight and all the weight that I had packed on. That right there started my mindset of drugs being a self-medicating, a medicine,
okay.
something that could actually help me. And being a punk rock skater and having that mentality, it's like we're against the norm, we're against the system.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, screw it. I was they tried to put me on antidepressants in high school when I flunked out, but that was all just because I flunked out because I was trying to pursue my passion and my dream of the camera work.
Okay. And
Yeah, when they yeah,
just to clarify, I only giggled because you said you looked ridiculous on a skateboard filming. I'm not giggling because you said you were overweight. I'm just imagining you trying to film and not fall over while on a skateboard. So that sounds very fun,
yeah,
actually, like
no,
the dream for a high school dude.
totally. Yeah, my class was graduating. I was actually on the road in New York City on my first ever skateboarding tour. I used to work for Osiris Shoes, and yeah, they forked over the bill, and I got to chase the team around with my
Wow.
camera. And yeah, it was pretty awesome. But
Yeah.
yeah, so back to it,
Yes.
I started getting high and just feeling really anxious and stuff. And yeah, I was just ashamed of all the weight I packed on. So I hit the treadmill. I started eating healthy and I dropped down to about 170 pounds. And being from 280 to
Wow.
170, you're left with a lot of loose skin, battle scars, so it speaks. And in the skateboarding world, especially with these super skinny guys, like having the loose skin, I was still looked at as chubby, even at 170 pounds. So a lot of
Aw.
anxiety still there, which led to me eventually around 21, I started drinking pretty heavily. And
Uh,
drinking, it was great in the beginning. I could loosen up, I could talk to people. I didn't feel uncomfortable in my own skin. I was trying to meet girls, get more social.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was cool. And I was just chain smoking cigarettes, drinking a lot, pretty much weed during the day, booze at night. And then after a brief stint in the skateboarding industry, I ended up getting into culinary. And as we all know, the restaurant industry parties very hard. So the pot took
Ah,
a backseat to the alcohol at that point, and then some occasional cocaine use as
okay.
well. But yeah, just heavy on the booze. And yeah, and I was, as far as opiates go, I was dating a girl who she had it bad. She had a Norco prescription and she was feeding them to me like candy. It was fun, whatever. And I
Mm,
really liked the feeling of the opiates. The opiates with a couple beers, oh man, it was like I didn't have to drink as much
mm,
and I could just have a couple beers and some Norcos or a Percocet. And I was just melting into the couch, feeling no anxiety. My chatterbrain, the bipolar, the HSP that I wasn't aware of, all that was just washed away.
mhm.
And then at one point, she ran out of her prescription early and I said, "Hey, you have one of those Norcos tonight?" And she snapped on me. She said, "Oh, you've been taking my pills
Oh,
and I know you've been stealing them from me and I'm out early and blah blah blah." And then I saw right there, holy
oh
shit, this
no.
chick has it really bad. She is absolutely hooked. And then I was probably on 1 to 2 for a couple months, and then that night I didn't have any, and I started feeling really bad. I started cold sweats, and I realized and identified that. I said, "Shit, I am withdrawing. I feel like a dope fiend." I was
Oh,
able to yeah. So I identified it
wow.
then, and I was able to trickle off of it, and our relationship was really rocky. She had a lot of substance issues, and I was
Mm.
on her for that. As I could see, it was just very problematic, and we have eventually ended up splitting. So, yeah, I was very thankful actually that I didn't know how to score Norcos or Percocets because I could see it going down a dark hole, and I seeing those withdrawal symptoms. I didn't want to have to go through that. So I was able to keep it at bay, but back to the drinking, back to the smoking. And then I ended up dating another girl, and she was diagnosed with early stage cirrhosis of the liver. Um,
Oh,
so yeah, so I really love this girl. I still do love her. We still talk and we're still great friends. We quit drinking together. I wanted to stay with her, and so I quit drinking to support her. And around that time, we needed something, and we had seen these little shots of Kratom at the gas station and at the head
uh-huh.
shop. So we decided to give it a try. So we took a couple of these little bottles, not the Kava Kratom mixture, but just Kratom, and they were okay. They made me kind of woozy. I actually vomited on my second time taking them. So we didn't really like them, whatever.
Okay.
But yeah, somewhere down the line around then at the head shop where I was buying my rolling papers and stuff, I had a friend that worked there and I'd stopped buying those little shots. I'd forgotten about them. And she said, "Hey, one of her family members, I think it was her father-in-law, I think, he was on kratom pills for his pain. He's the last stages of life. So he stopped taking them. She had a bottle left over. She said, "Hey, I know you've been buying this kratom stuff. Do you want to try the pills? I have a whole bottle left over of pills. He has to take 5 to feel anything." So I said, "Okay, sure, I'll check it." So in my mind, I'm thinking, "Okay, if this old man needs to take 5, I'm going to need to take 10." And
Wow.
I was about right. So I was on the bottles or I was on I'm sorry, the capsules.
Okay.
So I was taking like, it got to the point where I was on like 12 just to feel something, maybe 2 or 3 times a day. So like 36 a day.
Okay.
I just felt,
Just
I felt like
consistent
that's
stream
insane.
of like a consistent stream of
Yeah.
intake. What year was that, do you think? And the bottles the first time you did that?
This was probably like late 2019, early 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, 2020, probably 2020.
Okay.
Yeah. So I messed with the pills for a while. And then again, I just noticed that it was becoming problematic. Couldn't do
Mhm.
anything without them. So I decided to take myself off of them. And to be quite honest, the withdrawal wasn't absolutely terrible. I don't
Interesting.
really remember the process of coming off of them that much. I don't remember it that much. I can't imagine it was good, but shortly thereafter, a buddy of mine who had also kicked drinking, I think I was at about the 1.5 year mark of quitting my drinking. I'm at like 3.5 years now. I
Yeah.
think I was at
Congrats.
about the 1.5 year mark. Thank you. Somewhere around there. And so my buddy said, "Hey, you quit drinking. That's great. I've been taking these little blue bottles, these little blue shots. They've been helping me." And I said, "Oh, yeah, I've seen those. Like Kava, I don't know about that. I was actually on Kratom for a while." And he says, "No, this is Kratom." And I said, "Wait, huh? Wait, are you serious? Hold on." So the marketing of these little blue bottles, I know we don't want to use the actual name, the FF,
Yep.
whatever it is,
Yep.
but these little blue bottles, man. So I bought one and I looked at it, and sure enough, it's advertised as a kava drink,
Yep.
but you flip it, and on the back, the active ingredient really is kratom. So I
Yep.
said, "Okay, let me give this a try." Because my buddy, he was still on them at the time, and he was talking to me like they were a godsend, and he said somehow they ferment the kava and the kratom together, and it ends up super potent and just like a different high. And he was right; it was totally different than the pure kratom. Whatever they do, that formula, that magic formula,
Mhm.
fermentation or whatever it is, man, it had me hooked instantly. And the marketing is so genius from somebody. I failed to go into more of my self-medicating and shamanism, quote unquote, if you want to call it
We can
that.
go
But,
there
I had
later.
some really
We can go
yeah.
there
Well,
later.
I had some real yeah, it's some really eye-opening DMT experiences and psychedelics. If it's an ancient plant medicine being suppressed by the higher ups and the powers that be in our society, I'm all for it. Or I was all for it. So I said, this marketing is genius. Euphoria in a bottle, ancient plants, holistic, kava tonic. I fell for it so
Yep.
hard. And yeah, before it was 2 bottles a day, and then I realized I could work on it really well. It wasn't affecting me it was actually making me laser focused, and I'm 43 years old, cameraman of 26 years. I have a bad back carrying all this gear throughout the years, so the numbing pain of it plus the focus and the slight euphoria, it really became yeah, it became my MO. So 2 bottles turned into 3, turned into 4, turned into 6, and then I was able to get myself off of it about a year ago. Around this time, around it was so funny. Coincidentally, the day I decided to get myself off of it, my girlfriend decided to leave me. So
Oh,
I opened yeah, yeah, total coincidence. So I opened up to her and I said, "I've been on Kratom for the last year and a half or whatever it was, 2 years. I gotta let that know." Maybe I thought it would save me and maybe it would keep her around. Okay, let's see if this guy gets off kratom and what he's like. But no, she was like even more angry that I'd been hiding it from her and this and that. And it just
oh.
felt really good to come clean about it. But yeah, it didn't help my cause at all. I was
Wait,
able to kick it for around, yep,
this was April 1st?
negative.
Oh,
This was last year around February.
okay. I was gonna
I
say,
made
if
it two
you
months
quit
clean and
it
then I
and then she
relapsed.
broke up with you on April 1st, that would be super mean. No one should break up on April Fools. I'm
No,
glad
no,
that
no, no.
wasn't it. Okay.
No, she did break up with me 4 days before my birthday, so that was lame.
Ugh. Yeah, that's
but
also lame.
But yes, but yeah, so I was able to stay clear for about 2 months, and yeah, the withdrawal was really heavy. It was rough. Couldn't really eat much, cold sweats, stuff like that. I think at that point I was on about 4 a day.
Okay.
And then, yeah, about 2 months later, I had a really stressful string of jobs back to back, about 5 days worth. And in my professional career, I had never been pushed to the limits by a client than I had on this particular job. I was a one man band, lights, camera, audio, photo, last minute teleprompter edition, and operating the teleprompter was not my area of expertise. And I expressed concerns early on, and the agency pressured me into operating it rather than hiring help. And I crumbled.
Mm,
There were so many technical issues, and I was underslept and just really on empty to my absolute breaking point as far as stress goes. And I said, you know what? Let me call back on that little blue bottle. Let me call back on that little helper to help me get through the day. And yeah, I
yeah.
got through the day. And then at the end of the day, I wanted to relax a little bit more. So I got another bottle and then I woke up feeling bad. So I got another bottle. And then before you know it, it was another year of
Got
that
it.
shit. And yeah, it was about my perfect dosage was 3 bottles, one at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But of course,
Okay.
any addict and any addict will go overboard. And before you know it, it's 6 to 8.
So
April 1st, when I decided to get off of it, was like 6 to 8 a day.
Okay. Okay. So let's just back up on timelines a bit. So you think you first encountered it around 2020 and you dabbled with the bottle
Yep,
and then you found the pills and you did mostly just the powder and the pills. And then what was the
yep.
length of time between like full starting and stopping the blue bottles, do you think, including the quits?
I'm sorry, say again? So,
Like
the
when
time in between
like when you
cutting the kratom pills and then getting on the blue bottles?
Like, yeah, a little bit about that, and then when you started the blue bottles versus when you officially stopped, like, how long of time do you think that was lapsed?
Okay, for sure. So, I was probably on the blue bottles for about on the pills for maybe 3 to 4 months, mixed with the other bottles, not the blue
Yeah,
ones. And I was probably off for about 2 months, and then I found the blue bottles, and then it was just a year and a half of heavy use, took 2 months off, and then back to another hard year and a half of usage, yeah.
okay,
Something
got
like
it.
that.
Alright, and then so both of those instances, you were under extreme stress, at least for the 2nd round. You were under extreme stress,
Yep,
and that was one of the catalysts, and you knew what it did and how it, quote, unquote,
yep,
"helped you," and the first time
yep.
around, it was just up leveling from the pills, right? You liked it better. Yeah. Okay.
Totally, it felt cleaner, like, popping 24 to 36 pills a day just felt so dirty, I felt like a drug addict, but
Right.
the genius marketing of these little blue bottles, man, the holistic natural plants. Again, I tricked myself into thinking that
Yep.
I stumbled on some ancient wisdom, some ancient remedy that the rest of the world doesn't know about. And yeah, I'm going to use this to get through the day because this world is really tough to navigate, especially when you're a bipolar, unmedicated HSP. Yeah,
Exactly.
I let
It's
it
like,
take me
you
down
know,
for sure.
it takes a village just to maintain our own mental health sometimes. And unfortunately, many of
Yep,
us that are on this show, especially, we find something that works at first try and we go, oh my God, finally something can help me. Maybe you try therapy and you're not
yep,
getting the immediate results. You're not getting immediate results from eating one piece of broccoli. You're immediately going to have that reaction with this, but then it
yeah,
doesn't last. And it's the age old
yep,
story of trying to chase that first high. And then, yeah. So,
absolutely.
when did you have, just like with the pills, when you're like, oh, I feel dirty doing this, feels wrong? Did you have an aha moment with the bottles, or did someone ever comment and say, hey, man, like, you're looking rough, or hey, are you okay? Did that happen to you?
You know what? No,
Wow.
because
Mm.
coincidentally, my last round of the blue bottles after my girlfriend left me, I decided I'd quit drinking for her, and so I was at about 2 years off the sauce at that point, and I thought I was gonna lose a lot of weight. I fluctuated weight my whole life, I said, and I always put on weight in relationships, so I was up till 210-ish, something like that.
Okay.
I thought I was gonna lose weight drinking, not cutting the drinking, but I was just craving sugar, and so I was just eating a lot of sugar. So basically, when she left me, I said, I can go one of two ways. I felt the gravitational pull back towards the bar and my old bar buddies and whatnot. But I said, you know what? I need to put my job and my career first. And I cannot continue to operate heavy cameras if I keep on packing on pounds. And that's surely going to get worse if I go back to the bar. So I'm going to get my ass in shape. So I started cardio and just really clean eating, intermittent fasting, just being as healthy as I could be, although I still had those little bottles. And again, I was tricking myself thinking that this ancient plant medicine is totally fine and totally holistic. So I never got anybody really saying, I got people saying you look good because I was
Yeah.
dropping weight.
So hard to hear that,
And they
right?
actually did help. Absolutely. And they did actually help suppress the appetite and help me push through a long day without getting really hungry. So yeah, nobody ever really said that you're looking rough, but I just, as far as aha moments, I think it came early on when I was still in that relationship and when she would take a shower and I would jam on over to the gas station because I was really feeling rough and I needed a couple bottles and just
Oh.
I was hiding bottles in my sock for Christ's sakes when
Ooh.
we would go out to the movies and stuff just because I knew like I needed one in a couple hours and I would disappear into the bathroom, take the shot and be fine. And I was very careful to not let my behavior go over the top or show that I was acting or behaving different, although in my brain I was, and I was feeling a hell of a lot better than I was when I wasn't on them.
I
Yeah, I think
yeah.
just the sneaking around and that having a stash of bottles and hiding them and keeping the empties in another stash and hauling them out late at night and hiding them in the garbage at the bottom. Yeah, that was the big aha moment where I felt like a goddamn dope fiend. Yep,
Okay. You're saying a lot of things that a lot of people I'm sure can relate to. We've all done the things that we're trying to protect maybe ourselves or someone else, or we're doing these protective things because maybe you think you have it under control and these controlling actions will keep you in control. And I'm only having
totally.
3. I know what I'm doing. Or I'm only having this at this time. I have this under control. I know what I'm doing. I think that's where the messy stuff can happen once you start bartering with yourself. Only do this, or it's been extra hard, so I get another one. That's when the alarm bells
Absolutely.
start to come on for me when I hear people's stories, even if they're in usage with anything. Oh, I got this. I have my system. I do this on this day and this. I'm like, ooh, okay. Once you start having to create a
Yeah,
system. Anyway,
totally.
stab them in the sock.
Yeah,
Go on.
yeah, totally. I envy those people who can have one drink, a couple beers on the weekend. I've never been one of those people.
Mm.
Yeah, it just turned into a thing where, where yeah, I couldn't get out of bed without it. That was when I noticed it was really bad, and
Mm.
then I'm so career driven and oriented, and I love my job so much, and I love the places that my video camera has taken me and the people that I get to interface with, and I just felt like I was disrespecting it by I was just scared of some, like, huge crash or huge come down, so I have the luxury of being my own boss and as a freelancer. And so I waited I was trying to wait for this window for a good 6 months.
Mhm.
Finally, I had this window where it was like 12 days of no work back to back. So
Oh.
I said, okay, I'm taking this 12 days and I'm going to do it. Let's do it. So that was April 1st. And I had the most insane withdrawals, just like I knew, because coming off the blue bottles before, like I said, coming off the Kratom pills wasn't that rough. It was rough. Don't get me wrong. But those blue bottles, man, it was absolutely rough coming off of it. Bathroom floor for hours, dry heaving, cold sweats, felt like my bones wanted to jump out of the skin, muscle spasms, just
Mm.
inability to sleep. It was rough. I've never played with heroin, obviously, but I could see that it could be comparable
Yeah.
almost. I felt disgusting. Yeah.
Yeah. It sounds so did you go through acute withdrawal the whole 12 days? And were you at that 4 bottle mark you said, or 6 bottle mark, and then you tapered or just stopped at that point?
Addict that I am, I was on about 4 bottles, and then knowing that I had this stretch of no working days where I could come down, I said, "Okay, we're just gonna go heavy. We're gonna let's have fun with this up until the end." Yeah,
Got it.
it was like 8 bottles up
Okay.
until the end, and I did not cold turkey it. I slowly got myself down. I got down to about 4 a day, and I was still feeling really rough, and then it was from 4 to 2, just taking small sips here and there, and then when I said, "Okay, that's it," the pot, I still smoke pot, and so I'm not totally sober. We
Mhm.
call it, quote, unquote, "California sober."
Yeah.
I'm working on it. I'm not trying to abuse it. I'm trying to only call on it when I need to diminish pain, or if my manic brain doesn't let me go to sleep, then I'll smoke
Yeah.
some pot, but I had to call on Mother Marijuana at that point in time.
Okay.
When I had no bottles in the house, I ordered a marijuana delivery and I consumed 800 milligrams of THC edibles.
Wow. At
Now, that
once?
is a lot
At
at
once?
once, one sitting.
Woo!
Yep. So
Here you are
up
still with
until then,
us.
yeah, yeah, my daily usage of pot was about 20 milligrams of edibles to go to sleep. And those were like my perfect dosage just to go to sleep, feel relaxed in my muscles and my brain. And yeah, 20 milligrams, pretty cool.
That's normal.
That might even
Yeah.
be a lot for some people.
Yeah.
But yeah, I knew that I needed to incapacitate myself to the point where I was not able to get in a car and go to the liquor store and buy a bottle. So it
So,
worked.
what happened to you? Were you just knocked out? Like, what went through your mind, if anything? Did you have Any thoughts during that time? Were they wild? Were they 0? What happened?
They were wild. Yeah, I was very hazy. I was very hazy on things. I definitely was able to get to sleep because until then I was not able to sleep with the withdrawal symptoms being as crazy as they were. But yeah, it allowed me to sleep. And yeah, I woke up feeling a little refreshed, although it was still pretty painful. And then, yeah, and like I said, I was clean eating up until that point, but I just let myself go for those 12 days. I said, you know what, fuck it. I'm going to eat whatever I want, whatever. It put that recovery absolutely first in my life, and anything I needed to do to keep myself from those bottles, I did. So just some comfort food and some binge watching, some TV, and I don't know. I found this show. It's actually it's called The Big Les Show. It's a Australian sketch comedy cartoon, and I just binge watched that. And then there's a character in there, Sassy the Sasquatch. I mean, it's like this Sasquatch's journey, like throughout the universe, and it's very psychedelic, and it's got some good life messages in there. So I was thankful I found that, and I just
Okay.
watched that over and over again, and just yeah,
Yeah.
hung out with my cats, and they were pretty. They hadn't seen me look like that. I could tell they were concerned.
The cats were
But
concerned. Okay.
yeah, they were onto it. They knew something was up with that.
Well, I don't
Yeah,
want to glorify any kind of usage in general or even cannabis. I still think that there's that place for use for harm reduction. And I know that in the big scheme of
yeah,
things, Kratom has been used for some folks as a harm reduction method off of other harder things. And I know that cannabis is
totally.
often used as harm reduction from Kratom and other things. And I did the same thing for a while. I think that it's one way of recovery is to get off of the worst, quote unquote, stuff first to reduce your harm immediately and to go on
Yeah,
to something that's a little less of a harm. And whether that's long term, short term, or just like a brief lapse, or maybe that's what you do for a while, that's a method that works for some people. And I did that for a while until it no longer served me, and it sounds like it's okay for you now, and it's just I think it's just a matter of continually checking in with yourself, right?
yeah, absolutely. Again, I don't want to glorify THC usage
Sure.
whatsoever, but yeah, it is just a harm reduction, and yeah, I'm still going to therapy and always trying to recalibrate and focus in on what's really going on in my head and why I'm doing the things that I'm doing. And I've taken a couple weeks off here and there, and yeah, they've been great. And then once it creeps back in, it creeps back in,
Yeah.
and it doesn't affect my work performance. I'm not getting high on the job or anything like that, but
Yeah.
unwinding after a long event at the end of the night, it's either I'm not able to sleep and I go super manic and with the bipolar, or I'm able to just zone out and get to sleep with the help of a little cannabis.
Yeah. That
Not proud of
sounds
it, but that's still where I'm at. Yeah.
that does sound like a struggle, especially to have those 2 modes of your mentality of the up and the down, and I know that a lot of
Yeah.
folks, only suffer with the down after getting off of Kratom. How have you
Yeah.
noticed your manic stages have changed after the kratom use quit? Like, how did you notice those changes? Because a lot of us just feel depressed for a long time afterwards before it subsides. Like, so you get some of
Yeah.
both? How does that work for you?
Yeah, I do get a little bit of both. I feel like thanks to therapy, I'm really able to identify those manic states. And when those thoughts of grandeur or whatever feel like the universe is giving me signs and speaking to me, I keep them to myself. I don't let, other people in on my quote unquote craziness too much unless you're really close to my circle. But yeah, it's been a pretty big downswing ever since. And I just have to remind myself that, yeah, I'm only on 3 months off of the stuff, and it definitely changed my brain chemistry to a point. So
Yeah.
I'm just looking to the light at the end of the tunnel and trying to focus on my health and everything. I find that clean eating has definitely helped me a lot, and
Great.
intermittent fasting, just cutting all the poison out of my diet, any sugars, processed carbs. Very low carb lifestyle mixed with intermittent fasting, mixed with cardio has me just feeling sharper than ever. And yeah, although I still do have those downswings, it's just I need to keep it in check and just constantly checking in with myself and monitoring my own thoughts.
Yeah.
It's not an easy place to be in this bipolar brain, but
Yeah.
we get through it and we try to do the good things that make sense that most people are telling you. I've tried to stay on a lot of positive, uplifting podcasts, people like the Huberman Lab, Diary of a CEO, just healthy type stuff that keeps me going in a healthy direction.
Yeah. Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's important to find those not only coping methods or tools, but just consistent things that you can turn to. It sounds like you have a long list of things that you like to do every day. And do you ever write down some of your tools for yourself to in my phone? I have a list, my emergency coping tools like Lily, go for a run. Oh, yeah. Like things like that when you're in a spiral and you can't remember or think straight. Sometimes that helps me. You ever do that? Write stuff down?
So funny. So funny you mentioned that. Actually, I have a list right here in my office. Yeah, it says fun, digitize old skateboarding tapes, clean the gear, organize the garage, decorate, do some dumbbells, location scout for fun projects. There's another laundry list of little gear specific things. But yeah, I do. I keep
Oh,
that
good.
list. And
Yay.
yeah, therapy has been really well as well. But I
Yeah.
think community as well. Talking to old buddies and stuff on social media is one thing, but actually hanging out with them in person and stuff, that's been good. And at my age, a lot of my buddies are drinking way less and
Mm,
the party's kind of over for them and they have families. And now I can hang out with them and the little ones and not feel guilty about smoking cigarettes outside or
yeah.
being drunk around the kids.
Yeah.
Cause yeah, I feel like when I was in my worst stages of addiction, I was definitely keeping myself from my community because I was scared to be around them and be judged. And could they tell really what was going on with me?
So when you found finding community, were these were all folks that you were friends with beforehand? Were you able to find any new community in your new sobriety from this substance? Like, how did you deal with reaching out about it?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So I started going to NA, Narcotics Anonymous, straight away after kicking the blue bottles. I had been to AA throughout the years. I got a DUI in 2013 and I went 2.5 months without booze. And I was going to meetings just to get them checked off the list, but I love the community there and I love the stories that I heard. And
Uh,
it was funny. In the beginning, I was not sober. My driver's license was revoked. I was skateboarding all over town, hitting like 4 meetings a day and then skating directly to the bar and having
Ooh,
4 IPAs.
okay.
Yeah.
A
So,
new kind of balance.
but I just really A and NA how it's
Yeah.
a bunch of people sitting around talking about the struggles they go through in their own brains. And it's basically all about being selfish. And that's what
Mm,
addiction is, right? It's putting yourself first in your addictions and being selfish. And this could also be overeating or vegging out on the couch and just diving into television too much. Anything, to me, anything that makes you less of service to your fellow man or woman, to humanity, that is not a good thing. And that's what they preach in these groups is how can we stay accountable? How can we work on ourselves? And being raised Catholic and actually
mm.
Catholic school until middle school, I always felt like Catholicism got it all wrong. Modern day religion is just you go and you sit in a room and you listen to a guy preach and then you go about your day. And I had a day where my stepdad lost his shit in the drive-through at a 16-year-old girl in Taco Bell because they ran out of hot sauce. He said, "What the hell didn't you tell me you were out of hot sauce? I can't do the mild stuff. How am I supposed to eat all these tacos?" Ah, and then he drove away. And I could see tears welling up in her eyes as we drove
Aw.
away. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. We just did an hour of church preaching, be good to your fellow man, blah, blah, blah. And we went straight out of that and we went into degenerate, just negative human mode. So
Had a literal neighbor.
I never really, yeah, exactly.
Oh.
So I feel like those AA and NA groups, those self help groups, they're the church that we need. And I think they should exist without the substances, just people talking about how selfish they are and how they can struggling with things in their own brain and how we can come together as a community. So yeah, I started going to NA as soon as I got off the blue bottles, but I started feeling really guilty in those groups because I was still on the pot. And yeah, I tried to kick the pot and then I started going to AA a little bit again. And it just, I was getting judged by these old timers. They told me I was taking dirty chips. I'm over 3
Mm.
years, no booze. And that is huge for me. I am I'll toot my own horn. I'm pretty proud of myself for being over 3 years without the booze. I never thought I'd really be able to kick that. And the cigarettes too, 2.5 years, no cigs. Oh man, I never thought
Yeah.
I could pull that off. Although I still chew nicotine gum like crazy, but yeah, so for them to tell me I was taking dirty chips and to feel the judgment in those some of those groups, and I expressed this in therapy, and they said maybe this isn't the spot for you, maybe just community with your buddies and this and that, and then yeah, hadn't really connected with my skateboarding people and the skateboarding industry in a long time, fluctuating weight, and now I'm at a healthy weight and I can skate around and not look ridiculous.
Okay.
Connected with some of my old buddies, and that had been great. So yeah, just my skateboarding buddies, a lot of them are lifelong childhood friends. We've been through a lot together, so
That's
it's great
good.
to have them as a support system.
Were
And
they
I can be
under
open and honest with them about the creative stuff too.
Oh, good. I was gonna ask if they responded okay when you told them about the kratom use after you shared with your ex that you were secretly using and then she broke up with you. Did that affect you opening up again with others?
No, not really. Yeah, I felt like I needed to let them know
Good.
because they're my best buds, and some of them have had similar addiction paths to myself, so it's really easy to get duped by that marketing and that little blue bottle, man, I tell
Yeah.
you. And the way Joe Rogan has talked about it on some podcasts and some other people have mentioned it here and there, and they're not really painting it in a bad light, so I definitely feel like it's my duty to spread the word while this thing is still pretty new in the
Mhm.
world and not a lot of people know too much about it. I was telling my therapist about it and he said, "Oh, you kicked booze, you kicked cigarettes, this gas station blue shot. How bad can it be? I don't know much about it, whatever." Yeah.
Bad.
He was actually encouraging me to stay on it because I was feeling like a better person on it and it was quieting the chatter in my brain. So he pretty much encouraged me to stay on it. And still, when I
And
talk to him, so how's the kratom use? And I say, dude, I'm off of it still. And he's, wow, that's really good. Okay. No, it's
oh my
like,
god.
I don't think, I don't think he really realizes it's how deep my addictions are. It's all or nothing with me. If I
Yeah.
take one, I'm going to be back off to the races for sure.
I hear that.
And it was that, yeah,
I hear that.
it was actually pretty funny. Like one of the first days that I felt this is my addiction spiral, right? It's like one of my first days back feeling normal, I decided to go skateboard around the harbor and just get some fresh air and try to see if my body was responding and working again.
Mhm.
And I was still feeling pretty bad. And I passed by a local sports bar on the harbor and I said, you know what? I'm over 3 years no booze. This kratom shit was really hard to kick. Maybe a couple Miller Lights if make me feel a little bit better. Maybe I should
No.
nice patio beer, look
No.
at the ocean, and then I just said, "No." So I identified that addictive behavior early, and I
Good.
just skated the other way as fast as I could.
Good. I'm glad you prevented that lapse. I think that's a common thing too, is right when you get to a slight stability in the kratom coming out of your body and that's finally leaving your system more and more, your brain is still trying to balance itself out with the chemicals and everything.
Yep,
And it's, oh, what about that other thing we used to do? What about that other thing? Like, how about a whole bunch of sugar? How
yep,
about a whole bunch of alcohol? Remember that one thing? We tried that. We liked
yep,
that. Everyone's brain does that, and it's a part
yeah,
of the withdrawal process. Did you know about
yeah.
pause when you were going off of substances? The PAWS, pause, post acute withdrawal syndrome?
No,
No, because
no, negative,
that's
not
part
at
of
all.
it. That's part
I
of it.
still don't, yeah,
Oh, okay. I didn't know
okay,
about it until I was off of 2 different things. I was well off of kratom by a few months, maybe 6 months by the time I heard about it, and my therapist is an addiction specialist. And side note, if
yep,
you are in therapy and your therapist is not specializing in addiction, it might be worth looking into because they have a whole wealth of knowledge of things that I did not know about. And one of them was she gave me a piece of paper and it just talked about post acute withdrawal syndrome. And at 30
wow,
days, this is what your brain is doing. This is what your body's doing. At 60 days, you are likely to feel these things. Your body is likely to feel these things. At 6 months, you are very highly likely to have relapse fantasies and start fantasizing about use again. And so you start to know, oh shit, like I'm at this mark. It says I might be wanting stuff again. So if I have that urge, write it down, tell someone, say something
wow.
like, It basically predicts you, and then you
That's
just feel like a boring average person, but it also makes you feel like a human, and then, like, you're not off. Like, you're on schedule to
yeah.
feel that shitty that day.
Wow.
So, yeah, check it out
Wow, yeah.
because
Okay,
you're
cool.
you're
I had no idea. And
you're gonna go through that. You're going through that, but if you're at 3-ish
mhm,
months, you're just coming out of a period of, like, high risk, and then at 6 months again, you're gonna come back to it. So just continue your positive all your habits that you're doing, and
damn.
just so you know,
Wow.
you got a little tiny
Yeah, thank you
ledge
so
ahead
much.
of you, and I think the next one is what? A year and a half? I think the last episode
Mhm.
with Dr. Casey Grover, he talks about the percentage of relapse risk versus time off the substance, and I think that at the 5-year mark, you're, like, 95% like, unlikely to return to use, but there's different percentages earlier on, and I think it's
Okay.
80% chance of lifelong sobriety at it was either a year and a half or 3 years. I think it was 3 years. But it was a recent episode with Dr. Casey Grover,
Okay.
and I was writing down
Wow.
notes. I'll have to recheck my notes, but yeah, well, sometimes it's fun to see the
Yeah.
numbers and shoot for that, like, "Alright, I gotta get to that 85% sobriety chance."
No, right on. Thank you so much for that. No, that makes total sense. And I was telling myself with alcohol, I said, you know what? I'm going to make it to 3 years. I'm going to make it to 3 years and then I can drink again. But I know I don't want to drink again, but I'll just say 3 years and then I can drink. Okay, cool. And then 3 years came and I'm like, nah, we can't throw this all away.
Yeah, I was the
So,
same way.
yeah.
I was the same way. I'm gonna make it to this mark. Actually, I feel good. I'll keep going. I'm
Yeah,
gonna make it to this mark. You gotta trick yourself. I'm
totally.
glad you did that.
Because for me, all this really does stem from body image and weight and sugar and food and stuff like that. So it's I know
Uh-huh.
that with alcohol, I'm eating a burrito at 2 a.m. And yeah, it makes my food decisions go that much shittier. And again, being so career driven at this point, I feel like I'm doing life in reverse. I feel
Mm,
like most people, they just focused on the career, went to school and worked hard, and now they're able to relax. And people who weren't drinking too much back in the day, now they're starting to drink a lot. And I'm starting to
yeah,
see that. And it
yeah,
sucks that I can't unwind with them. But now although I always prided myself on being a very high functioning alcoholic, pothead, whatever have you. Again, just self medicating. I felt like pot made me more creative. I felt like alcohol made me more social. So I don't know. Yeah. For me to just be fucking around so early in life and just chasing experience and just letting the wind blow me wherever I landed. Now in my 40s, I've started another production company, more corporate driven, more adult, so to speak. So at this late stage in life, now I'm really focused on work mode and trying to
mhm.
set myself up to be able to at some point, I don't know how, but at some point be able to retire because like I said, my body's not getting any younger and the stress of everything and all the taxation that I put on this body is it's getting to be a lot. I'm looking
Yeah,
for longevity here and there's no longevity if you're drinking every day cuz I feel booze and opiates, they win every time. You cannot beat
yeah.
them.
You can't
You
yeah, you can't fight
fuck around too
back.
much, you'll find out.
They
Yeah.
win, and you have to yeah, you have to take it away so it can't win. And the dehydration,
Yeah.
just the long-term dehydration from alcohol use and just even kratom use. It's like with kratom, it's like
Totally.
the constipation and all of that. You just never
Yep.
feel okay. You're always like catching up just to feel like you had a glass of water. I was
Yep.
gonna touch on you mentioned in your meetings before feeling like you were being selfish and only serving yourself, but I did just want to bring up that's a very valid coping mechanism, just physically needing to disconnect, whether that's
Mhm.
turning inward to substance use or that's turning on the TV or eating, like all of those are ways to protect yourself. And while they're not a long-term solution. It is a very normal thing to do. So I just wonder if there's a way you could reframe that and not feel like you were being selfish because you were just trying to protect yourself. And it's a very normal response when faced with those struggles. So I just
Yep.
wanted to offer that.
Right on. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's again, it's just always checking in with myself, and if I am feeling guilty, I just Yeah, there's two people in my brain just going back and forth. No, you need to eat today. Okay, yeah, I get it. Maybe you consumed some too many calories yesterday, but you got to eat, man. So just get a sensible meal in. Or, dude, don't beat yourself up. You can't get a run in today. You worked 12 hours yesterday and 10 hours the day before. You are burnt ass tired. Just chill out. Give your body some space to relax. So yeah, it's constantly me battling my own reptile brain or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Definitely. And about the how you were talking about the holistic advertising with the bottles and how it seemed so safe, and as someone that had dabbled with
Yep.
different natural substances and mind altering things, like, how do you
hmm
feel? Do you feel like the bottles should have an actual warning on them or more clear descriptors of what it is and what it does? What are your thoughts on the labeling?
I can't recall, to be honest with you, what the warning labels look like on the blue bottles. I'm not
Zilch.
exactly sure.
Zilch, not a nothing.
Really? See, yeah, that's not cool. That's not cool by any means. It's got to be known. And check this one out. I was shooting an event recently at the Skateboarding Hall of Fame. Awesome event. And I found myself in the Orange County Business Parks. And I was early and I wanted to just find some Topo Chicos, some seltzer waters or something. I need those bubbles, right?
Yeah.
So I needed to find some sparkling water to stock up on for the event so that I could stay hydrated, whatever. And there was one of these hipster little food court, food hall things. You've seen them, right? They feel very sterile, right? It's like a bunch of different little eateries in one, and just I don't know, like
Port, like
have
airport
it,
food.
yeah,
Yeah.
kind of, yeah. So I stumbled into one of those, just looking for some seltzer waters, and right at the front, it was a kava slash kratom bar.
No.
And I saw a couple people, yeah,
No.
I saw a couple people in there reading books, and there was like I don't know what you call him, a kratom tender running around
Barf.
serving little shots.
God.
And I just started shooting video of the place so that I could
Oh,
send it to my buddy. Like I said, my buddy who maybe if he's down to get on the podcast, he's got a great story. Maybe I
yeah.
should send him your way
Let's
too.
talk.
Yeah, I mean, he was having delivery drivers, like Uber Eats delivery drivers dropping these things around the back of the house while he was like changing
Oh,
diapers like late at
no.
night with the kid. Yeah. Yeah. So I had to get video evidence to send to him. We've been a good
Wow.
support system for each other. So yeah, I sent him a video of this place, and as I was shooting the video, the Kava tender, kratom tender, whatever you want to call him, he comes up. He's like, "Hey, what's going on?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm just shooting some video. I think it's crazy that I never seen one of these places." And he says, "Oh yeah, they're quite the new thing. Are you familiar with kratom?" And I said, "Actually, dude, I am." And then I gave him a 30-second version of my story. And I told him I got hooked on those little blue bottles, and he said, "No, those are really strong, man. Those are really strong." Yeah. I said, "Yeah, I hope people are careful." And he said, "Yeah, no, I let them know, everybody, that it can be addictive and blah, blah, blah." And I let them know. And I said, "Yeah, I wish I could just have one to relax, but I'm an addict, man." And then he gave me this look as he was sweating and clammy.
Oh my
He gave me
god.
this look and he was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm an addict too." So yeah, he was probably in a bad place
Oh, man.
working at this place and hooked.
That sounds
And
hard.
what's crazy is it was advertised as a kava bar, kava and kratom, just like the blue bottles. And there was a giant sign out front. It said free kratom
Ah,
first time.
barf.
So that's just
Ah,
total drug dealer behavior. Am I right? Just total drug dealer behavior. Hey, we'll give you one, get you hooked.
that's
It's ridiculous.
terrible.
Yeah, absolutely terrible. Yeah, I feel like people really need to know about this stuff before everybody starts going to the kava bar and then getting super hooked.
They do. I feel like I heard somewhere that for people running the kava bars, I don't know, 75 to 95% of their income is actually from the kratom that they serve at the kava bars, which is awful.
Yep,
It's if you ran a bar, but
precisely.
you sold some specific kind of vodka, and like all of the money is from the vodka, and I can't stop
Yeah,
carrying that. That's where the money is, but we're really this
totally.
other kind of bar.
Yeah, me having a chef background, do you want to hear a funny fact as well?
Tell me.
Most restaurants, fine dining restaurants, like the fancy restaurants,
Mhm,
special occasion restaurants,
mhm.
80% of their income is from alcohol and desserts.
Desserts?
80, 80%. If you think about it, most desserts are made with flour, sugar, cream, butter. Different variations of those baked off different ways with slightly different ingredients here and there. But those are cheap ingredients. And alcohol, as we all know, whatever you buy a bottle for and then what you charge for a drink, that's all their profit margins. The restaurant failure rate is very high as it is. And if you don't have a liquor license and you're not serving any desserts, you are huge about to be in the failure rate because they're making money off the poison, the alcohol and the sugar. That's where they're making all the money. It's fucking crazy. Oh,
Damn, I knew that the alcohol was a high point of income for restaurants. I worked in the wine industry and not specifically selling to restaurants, but I know that the wine reps that did have that job, that they were hustling hard to
yep,
get new accounts and get new restaurants, and that's where all the money was, and push to have multiple products carried. By the glass was the big thing. I didn't know about the
yep,
desserts. And it just speaks to how
yep,
like, we don't always know what the business is behind the business, and places like the seemingly harmless kava bar that most people think,
yep,
"Oh, I'm not going to the bar. I'm going to the kava bar. I'm doing something healthy for myself." And then they get
yeah,
hooked into this other thing they didn't even know about.
yeah.
Do you wanna
Yeah, I
talk.
really feel for the people. I really feel for the people who have no idea, who just, the yoga chick who just you see a photo of some chick doing yoga on the beach and, "Oh, enjoy your weekend with one of these and unwind with one of these, holistic." I'm still on their email list, for fuck's sake, and I haven't got myself off just because it's so comical to me. They email me blueprints of, "Enjoy a weekend with blank product," and
Oh,
it's 8 a.m. spa treatment, like 9 a.m. yoga, 10 a.m. enjoy lunch with a little shot of the whatever,
no!
6 p.m. Enjoy dinner with another half shot of the yeah, it's insane. Like they make it seem so harmless and helpless, even though the guy who's running the company, before he started the company, he was in jail for 10 years for embezzlement and he's changed his name and he's just a total fraudster, totally marketing towards the addicts, the alcoholics who are clean, just totally marketing towards us.
No,
I'm
no.
on
He
yeah.
also said that he was an alcoholic and an addict before, and that's
Yep.
why he created the product, because it was a safe alternative and
Exactly.
not addicting. And so that's part of me thinking, I guess I was gullible, but that was the whole point. That's what he's doing to everyone. Oh, trust me, believe in me. Like, I had a problem
Totally.
and now I don't have a problem because of this magical product, and it's safe and it's a plant. It's a leaf. It's a whole leaf. And I'm like, oh, that sounds great.
Precisely. Exactly. You nailed it right there. You
Yeah.
absolutely nailed it. Yeah.
I think the problem
So,
too
so
is, like,
tricky.
the kratom leaf thing, because I remember on the bottle, they said it's made with
Mm,
kava and the whole leaf kratom. And you can word
mm.
any way, but it's like
Yep.
they're not, yes, it came from the leaf, but they're grinding it up some more and extracting it and
Yep.
double espresso, whatever they're doing, fermenting. It's the same thing as, like, cocaine versus the coca leaf. And in East Asia, where people are chewing on a kratom leaf all day, they're literally like grabbing a leaf off a tree and chewing it. And they're not able
Yep.
to, even if they did
Hmm.
it all day long, chewed as fast as possible, they could never get to even a quarter of the bottle of what we were doing. And same with cocaine. If you're
Yep.
chewing on a leaf, it's not cocaine, it's just the leaf, like, you can never get up to that amount, and so I think that's where you and I, it sounds like we both got pulled into that marketing of, "It's a plant."
Yep. Totally.
Liars.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, at one point with my psychedelic journey, I fancied myself a shaman for Christ's sake. So I was like,
No.
yeah, I felt, again, I don't want to glorify anything, but I had these DMT experiences that definitely were life changing.
Mhm.
One of them was like, the first one, I blasted out into the universe and saw a bunch of weird stuff. I saw my whole life flash before my eyes and rewind, fast forward, and then I'm out. I'm in some weird spaces. That was too much to deal with. So the next night, I said to my buddy, I said, "Hey, you have any more of that? Now I know how to navigate the space. Let's go again." And he
Mm.
said, "We don't have too much. I don't think you can blast off into the stratosphere like you did last night, but let's see where you go." And the ceiling opened up and all these weird demonic entities presented themselves. And what it was like my own negativity that I was holding on to And I was just presented with all these negative aspects of myself. And yeah, it was absolutely nuts.
Mm.
And it was the worst experience of my life.
Oh,
I
no.
felt so just exposed and all the shit that I'd been holding on to. I just went through all of it. But the next day, it felt like I had expelled all of that negative energy. And again, I think maybe we were talking off camera earlier. Like, again, I do not want to glorify substances by any point because the DMT, it definitely changed me. I went into a bout of psychosis shortly thereafter. I
Oh,
had these amazing experiences that again, it's natural, right? It's a plant that
yep.
we figure out it's like this ancient wisdom trapped in a drug. And I was able to basically see the afterlife and see the other side and connect with these weird entities and stuff. And I was on a work trip in skateboarding and I was so overworked. I wasn't sleeping at night. I was editing, I was shooting during the day, and I was super clean eating after those DMT experiences. I was super nervous to put any poison into my body. So I was eating very clean, basically fasting. So then I started having these auditory hallucinations and I connected the dots right there. And I said, wait a minute, shamans and Buddhists, ancient monks, they access altered states of consciousness through fasting, lack of sleep. Holy shit, I'm doing two of those. Let's keep it going. Let's see what happens. And before you know it, I didn't know what I had done to myself. And like I was having crazy memory lapses, time lapses. I was speaking in tongue. I couldn't speak without rhyming. I was using weird words I don't usually use.
Whoa.
And I found myself in the ICU. And then that's when I got the bipolar diagnosis.
Oh,
And yeah, so that was me trying to play the shaman and using drugs to
yeah.
tap into some altered reality.
I'm
Yeah.
glad it helped you
And
find
a
a
lot of
diagnosis,
yeah,
even if I'm glad it helped you find
totally.
diagnosis. It's awful the way it happened, but that does happen to people. They do one more thing, they level up one more time, and it reveals what's happening in there. I've heard of that before.
Yep,
Okay.
totally. And I had a buddy in high school, similar thing happened to him. So I was always very interested in psychedelics, but I waited until I was like 32 years old to really mess around. A couple good
Interesting.
mushroom trips at a bachelor party, a couple good mushroom trips. And I was like, okay, psychedelics aren't so bad. And then I knew about the DMT. So I wasn't just doing it to party. It just showed up at my doorstep and I felt, okay, I got to try this stuff.
Interesting.
And yeah, that's when it got pretty wild.
Okay.
Yeah, just it's fast forward to today. I'm just trying to be as honest with myself as possible. And that genius marketing of those blue bottles, man. Yeah, the ancient plants really, yeah, that labeling really got me. It's a plant, it's a tonic, it's holistic. It's got a photo of a chick doing yoga on the beach
I
on the
know.
advertisement. It must be good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, they got me for
Sneaky,
the same
sneaky.
things. Yeah. And I think that
Absolutely.
because people don't because a lot of folks do not know what kratom is. They just if I say, "Oh, kratom," they either know what it is and they go, "Oh shit, that stuff's gnarly," or they just nod along thinking I'm talking about some random supplement like ginkgo biloba. And they're like, "Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
think I heard of that. Yeah, it's just like a supplement." So, how do you think it would be helpful to get like the word out about kratom and the risks of it and like why do you think that it's so limited in awareness right now? Do you have any thoughts?
I'm really not sure. I think it's tough for me, right? Because I'm 43 and my circle of people is all we're done with the party a little bit, but it's the younger crowd. It's the younger kids who are like at the head shop buying the flavored vape cartridges or whatever. And I'm still smoking weed. So I go buy my rolling papers at the head shop and I see all these different varieties of Kratom now. These like different varieties, triple strength, this one, and I see kids in front of me buying them. So I think it's the younger generation, and I'm not really sure how to reach them. I'm telling all my buddies, especially the ones who are getting off alcohol, because I feel it's marketed towards alcoholics who are in recovery. So I let my buddies know, but I don't know. I think just people need to keep talking about it. And I think what you guys are doing with the podcast is phenomenal. There's some Facebook groups dedicated to coming off of the stuff. I know we don't want to talk the actual name of the product that we were both on, but I think we all know the little blue bottles.
Yep.
It's called Quitting Blank Tonics. And that's the name of the Facebook group, which is really good.
Yeah.
And then there's a WhatsApp group as well.
We can
It's
refer to
FF
that
and
in the show notes too,
yeah.
probably, or at least on our
Okay,
main
cool.
page, we can refer to those groups,
Yeah,
put a link somewhere.
for sure.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, at least my age, 30s to 40s, I think they see it at the gas station and they're not even thinking about it because it's just lumped in with the Viagra shots or like whatever. There was that fake weed stuff for a while that didn't really work, and everybody was clowning on that for a while. I don't know. I personally refer to it as gas station heroin.
Fair.
That's how I describe it to my buddies and stuff. Yeah.
That's fair. If you could say anything to the makers of that product, do you have a message for them?
You guys suck. You know what you're doing. Come on. Give it up, dude. You are, yeah,
Yeah.
taking some people down, man. I hope you're sleeping easy, knowing exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Middle finger from me to them.
absolutely.
Is Do
Absolutely.
you have a sobriety milestone ahead that you're looking forward to or a date that you have in mind, just like with your drinking? I'm going to make it to 3 years. Do you have that for your substance now?
No, not exactly. I think, I don't know. Obviously, the years are good. I think, let's see, 3 years and then March to April, May to June. I guess September will be 3.5 years off booze. So looking forward to that.
Wonderful.
And yeah, as far as the Kratom, just going to keep going. Definitely looking for that 6 month mark. Can't wait to get to a year. I feel like a year, I can not worry that I'm going to go back to it. And I'll be totally honest with you. I had thoughts, had some thoughts about let's see if one will help us out. And I just keep driving past the liquor store, keep driving past. Nope. And then thank you again for having me and allowing me to share my story because I feel like if I go on here and share my story and I relapse, what kind of a shithead am I, right? This is definitely going to help hold me accountable. So I thank you so much for this.
Yeah.
Because yeah, just even a couple of weeks ago before I reached out, I was getting the itch
Yeah. It's part of it.
and yeah, yeah.
It's
So
part of it. Getting the itch
yeah,
is part of it, and relapse, unfortunately, is part of it. There's a lot of folks that go through the up and down a few times in quick succession or
yeah,
spaced out before being able to finally drop it. I know I tried quietly on my own without telling anyone to quit at least 2 or 3 times on my own, and I just could not do it.
yeah.
So it's part of it. But hey,
Right on.
6 months for you, that would be October 1st.
Yep,
October 1st, so maybe write in
yep,
your calendar celebration or go get a massage or something. I'm all about if we're seeking self gratification, then put something on your
yep.
calendar that is a self gratification celebration,
Totally.
massage, go get that slice of pie, whatever it is for you.
Yep. Right on. How
Yeah, is
how
there
about you?
anything else
What's
that
your
you'd
sobriety
like
date?
to add on? Anything else you'd like to say?
I'm just curious. What's your sobriety date?
Oh, my sobriety date, I have 3.
Yeah.
Alcohol, I just got 4 years on last Friday the 27th,
Awesome.
so 4 years there. I'm
Congrats.
just
That's
over
huge.
Thank you. I'm just over 10 months off of weed, and my sobriety
Nice.
date for the tonic, I have my sobriety clock. I use the Nomo app. If anyone wants a new sobriety app, it's Nomo, and it's free. I am 875 days off of the Kava Kratom tonic.
Oh,
So yeah, it was in
wow.
February.
Very nice.
Thanks. I'm like, holy shit, 28 months.
Congrats.
Woo! Yeah,
Congrats. That is huge.
yeah. It
Yeah,
sucked. It sucked hardcore. And life is so much
totally.
better now. And I remember when I was 3 months out of it, it was still really hard. I could not have imagined going on a podcast. Props to you. I was not
Mhm.
talking about it. At
Thank you.
least I wasn't able to even verbalize my experience yet. I was just so mentally in
Yeah.
it. I had so many thoughts, but they were just spinning around. I wasn't able to articulate anything. I've had to really
Mhm.
step back over time to get the words. To
Really.
you for speaking up now, even though you're contemplating the blue bottle again. It's
Yeah.
still because
I
that's going to
was
happen.
not now.
It's part
Yeah,
of it. It's
absolutely.
Yeah, and every once in a while, I'll drive by a store where I used to buy it, and I'm like, "What if?" And I'm like, "Nope, it
Yep.
doesn't make your problem go away. It just puts it on pause for a
Nope.
second. And what else can
Yep.
I do to put it on pause? Can I do some deep breathing? Can I go sit on the grass? What is it?"
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah.
doing good, and
Yeah.
I
It's just
am really happy that you wanted to talk to us and share your story. I think you have a really unique story, and I appreciate you
thanks.
being
Appreciate it.
open about your use and your journey throughout the different stages of things. And I think it's really interesting. I know a lot of people will relate to different parts of your story. So thank you for sharing everything.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I'm making a living behind the lens. It's yeah. I'm definitely I'm not the most comfortable in front of the camera. I know we're just going to be hearing my voice or whatever. But yeah, I just feel like at this stage in life, I've had a lot of great experiences behind the lens and maybe a lot of mistakes. And I feel like it's time to get out there a little bit into the world and kind of share some of this knowledge and help future generations from making the shitty, selfish mistakes that I have made. Maybe I could save some people a little bit of pain along the way. So if I can do that, just, yeah, it would be an honor. Just always looking to make the world a better place in the smallest way or in a big way, but whether it be small or whatever, however I can do it.
In all the ways. Thank you for doing that with us
Yeah,
today. Thank you, James.
absolutely. Yep. Thank you so much, Miss Lily. This has been great.
Bye.